Okay, what we got going on here is I ran through the planer and planed down some boards that were 3/8 instead of 3/4 because this is door stop for this door, and I don't want real heavy door stop. So I planed it down to 3/8, and then because I'm mitering 3/8 to 3/4, I have to stick it out beyond so that when I put this in here, it'll be a nice fit. So you can't just measure to the inside, you got to measure to the outside of this. So I'll pop this in all the way around, and then I can continue on with my my sideboard. I used a laser level to run that line around, all the way around the room, so that at that point everything is exactly level with everything else. There's a slight fluctuation in the wood because it's all wood that I milled, and every time you set and reset the table saw for the width, it could be just a trifle different. Also, sometimes the boards fit tight together and sometimes they don't quite. So you end up it's very difficult to get everything lined up precisely, but at least I started out with a level point and I went up and down from there. And I didn't always show it in the film, but I glued every single miter. And you'll see me a little bit here and there sanding these miters. What I do is I just clean up the edges and get rid of the glue. And right there you just saw me put the wrong board in, so I had to take it out and put the right one in. So now you can see what the door stop is going to look like with the door. Nice and clean, and unobtrusive. I like it. The insulation I'm putting in is just for sound purposes. I had one little piece of the ceiling that I didn't do when I was doing the ceiling. That's what that's about. It's hard in a tight space like this to get you guys a view of what I'm doing without blocking it. Ultimately, I got to be able to work. And there I'm just sanding the miter just a little bit. Now, I'd like an honest opinion from you guys. I myself have never seen anybody that mitered the paneling into the doors and window jambs like this. Do you guys like this look, as opposed to just putting the thing paneling up and then putting trim over it? And also, normally when you see paneling like this, it's usually V-grooved, which I did not do. And I didn't do it because I didn't want it. So leave a comment in the video telling me whether you like this look without the trim or whether you would prefer it with the trim. And don't worry about hurting my feelings. I've already had people tell me they like it better with the trim on it. This is a little bit unique, and anytime things are a little unique, some people don't like it. So don't worry about my feelings, but let me know what you think. Do you think I should have V-grooved it? And do you think I should have put trim on? When you get to a top board like that, or any board similar, could be the bottom, and you got to fit it in there in between nice and tight. Always cut an angle on the top or the edge that you're pushing in. Where my hands is right now is an angle cut, and that helps it get started going in. If you don't do that, it'll be very difficult to get that board in. Not that it's easy just this way, but it's a lot easier. I want things as tight as I can get them, so that's why I have to kind of beat it in. And again, this is an ICF house, insulated concrete forms, and every 6 inches in the forms is a plastic stud that you can screw into. You can't really nail into it, but you can screw into it. And that's why on the outside walls I have to use finish screws instead of nailing it. Leaves a little bit bigger hole in the finish screw, but it's not that bad.
My grandfather's clock was too large for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor. It was taller by half than the old man himself, though it weighed not a penny, weighed more. It was bought on the morn of the day that he was born, and was always his treasure and pride. But it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died. 90 years without slumbering, tick-tock, his life seconds numbering, tick-tock, it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died. In watching its pendulum swing to and fro, many hours he had spent while a boy. And in childhood and manhood the clock seemed to know, and to share both his grief and his joy. For it struck 24 when he entered at the door with a blooming and beautiful.
For those of you that haven't been watching my channel, what I did yesterday is I planed these boards, and now I need to straighten them. And so I made up this just piece of scrap. I put a piece of plywood on the top here, and then I ran my saw down it, and gives me a guide to run these. You can buy all kinds of guides for ripping and stuff. The problem is I need something long, and they don't make anything long that I could find. So I just made up my own, and it works pretty good.
And it kept in its place, not a frown upon its face, and its hands never rang an alarm in the dead of the night, an alarm that for years had been done. And we knew that his spirit was blooming in flight, that his hour of departure had come. Still the clock ticked the time with a soft and muffled chime as we silently stood by his side. But it stopped short, never to go again.
These are all boards that I milled on my sawmill. A lot of them, most of them came from Andrew Camerata. And they've been milled and drying for 4 or 5 years now. Look at Mrs. W. She's more beautiful today than she was when I met her 40 years ago. And I've been in self-employed for about 40 years. And I've had a lot of helpers over the year, and she's probably the best overall helper I ever had. Mrs. W. has been a painting contractor for 35 years anyways, maybe a little longer. She started out as my helper, and she went off on her own. And towards the end here, we just worked together whatever was coming along. The reason I'm putting short boards in is the boards to the right are going to be covered with cabinets. So I can put junk boards in there, but I want to keep that corner nice. some channels doing this kind of work, they film them drawing the tape measure out and making a mark and making a cut on the chop saw and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that. I figure that's kind of boring, but I don't know, maybe you guys like that stuff. Again, let me know in the comments if you think I should be doing that sort of stuff or just staying with the way I'm doing it. I take and screw the hinge to the door to hold it in place, and then I mark it with a sheetrock knife instead of a pencil, because it's a much finer mark. A pencil is way thicker, and I can just go to that cut and it'll be pretty tight. I'm using round cornered hinges here. Not advisable if you're cutting hinges like I am. That they're made for using a router, but I didn't want to set a router up for just a couple of hinges, and I already had these doors. Normally I would have got square cornered hinges. You can do it like this, but it's a little slower. I also discovered that by using the multi-master I can cut the hinge out. You'll see in a second here. It works pretty good. You just got to be very careful. When you're making that cut, because I put the screws through the hinges to start with, I can see the blade go through those holes. It gives me a little better idea how deep I am. You don't want to come out the other side of the door. My chisel needs a good sharpening, but I can't find my sharpening guide. It's around here somewhere, but with everything packed away, it's hard to find anything. I'm just cleaning up the cut with the utility knife. And there you have it, nice fit. I didn't show it here, but when I was done with these hinges, I laid the jamb on top of the door and marked out where the hinges go. You got to be really careful when you do that, otherwise you can't get your hinges to line up. Measuring's not good enough. Now again, I screw the hinge to the jamb to mark it out with the knife. That way there's no movement. All right, let's show if this jamb fits. Did I line up the hinges good? That's about as good as it gets right there. Perfect lineup. Normally I would dado out for the head of the jamb into the sides, but in this case, because it's being mitered together on the top, not mitered together, but a miter run around it so that I can miter into it, I can't really do that with this. So I have to just butt it and screw it. The reason why you cut the dados in the top of the jambs and slide the head into it is if you have to adjust the width a little bit, you can do that without it showing. In this case, I gotta just make sure that it's right. And yes, I added sticks to the side of that door, either side. There was a change of plans, and I already had that door, and I didn't want to waste it. And Mrs. W might be able to blend that in a little bit. It's sanded and smooth, it just is a slightly different color. The doors are expensive nowadays, and I didn't want to waste a door. Okay, the door is basically where I want it. Now I just got to shim the jamb out to it. And it's a little tricky when you're doing this because you got to come out enough for your miters to work on the edges. But we'll get it. And I'm using finish screws, and they'll be covered by the door stop on the other side, so it's not a big deal. It allows me to do a lot of adjustment though. The reason why I split the boards over top of doors and windows is because to plunge cut a miter is almost impossible. So I come in from either side. Again, an angle cut on the top of that board, that gets it more than halfway in place. Then I can just tap it in. Okay, I'm going to end the video here. I got the walls done in the kitchen, except for the bottom course. And the next step is clean this whole place up and start putting the floor down. But we've switched over and we're working on the stucco on the outside. So you're going to see that probably after this video. So there's what the walls look like in the dining room and kitchen, living room. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, which, like I said, will be stucco. I'll probably do that in 2 videos, one with the scratch coat and one with the finish coat. The blotches that you see here and there, where they're straight in a line like that, there and there, they're behind cabinets and they don't make any difference. I just threw some scrap boards in just to take up the space. I was going to do sheetrock, but I decided to just use some scrap wood that I had around, so that's what I did. You got the same thing here. You can see up here I just pretty much did it. But yeah, so I'll see you guys on the next one, and thanks for watching. Do you like chimichangas? You do? You want a chimichanga? Chimichanga. 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 You love chimichangas, don't you? You do? You do? Chimichanga? Yeah, chimichanga. Chimichanga. You like pizza? You want chimichanga? You don't want pizza. You want chimichanga? You do.